Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Battles of the American Civil War with your hosts, Bang and Dang. And we got 3 different campaigns here tonight. 5 battles, 3 campaigns. We got the first battle of the Franklin-Nashville Campaign, which just started out. And then we got a battle in Shenandoah Valley. And then our last 3 are going to be all about Price's Missouri expedition. And that'll lead into next week, which is Cedar Creek, which is the big battle. Big battle in the Shenandoah Valley, which is pretty much the last hurrah for Jubal Early. As never again will he be able to go through the Shenandoah Valley after this battle next week. But before that, we got the Battle of Allatoona in the Franklin-Nashville Campaign. We got Tom's Brook in Shenandoah, and then we got Sedalia, Glasgow, and 2nd Lexington in Price's Missouri expedition. So before we get into it, you guys already know the deal, the spiel. Go check out our YouTube if you're listening on podcasts apps. Go check out our YouTube at Bang Dang Network. We got this podcast as well as our other podcasts, Outlaws and Gunslingers, sort of a true crime, Wild West, Hells Angels, Mafia, all mixed into one kind of podcast. And obviously we post shorts, clips, and that stuff. Also, we got our other YouTube channel where we play darts, the old Liquor Shelf Lounge Dart League. Both of those will be linked in the description if you're watching on YouTube. And you obviously you listen to podcasts anyways, go add us over there. Give us a review. Give us a subscription. Share us with your friends. Answer that Spotify question. And we'll start out today with the Battle of Allatoona, also known as the Battle of Allatoona Pass, October 5th, 1864, in Bartow County, Georgia. It was the first major engagement of the Franklin-Nashville Campaign. After the fall of Atlanta, Lieutenant General John Bell Hood moved the Confederate Army of Tennessee northward to threaten the Western and Atlantic Railroad, Major General William T. Sherman's supply line as well. Hood's Corps under Lieutenant General Alexander P. Stewart attacked a number of minor garrisons and damaged track from October 2nd to the 4th. Hood then ordered Stewart to send a division to attack the Federal supply base where the railroad ran through a deep gap in the Allatoona mountain range and then moved north to burn the bridge over the Etowah River. He's like, you guys want to take Atlanta from me, all right? I'll destroy your railroads.
Right. At least about time. The North's been destroying railroads the whole war.
Trying.
At Hood's suggestion, Stewart selected a division of Major General Samuel G. French's 3 brigades, commanded by Brigadier Generals Claudius probably, Francis M. Cockrell, and William Hugh Young. The small federal garrison, commanded by Colonel John Eaton Turtelot, was a partial brigade, which had the 1st Brigade, the 3rd Division of the 15th Corps, consisting of the 93rd Illinois Infantry, the 18th Wisconsin Infantry, and Turtelot's own 4th Minnesota Infantry. Before the Southern Division arrived, Sherman ordered reinforcements to be sent from Rome. Damn, that can take months. Which was the 3rd Brigade, the 4th Division of the 15th Corps. He sent them to Allatoona under the division commander, Brigadier General John M. Corse, who took command of both brigades at that very time.
Well, the federal troops occupied strong defensive positions in 2 earthen redoubts on each side of a 180-foot, 65-feet deep railroad cut, and many of the men, including most of the 7th Illinois, were armed with Henry repeaters.
Oh, shit. Them repeaters, man, they won the war.
Especially Henry's.
Right.
French's division arrived near Allatoona Gap during the early morning hours of October 5th. The battle began at 7 a.m. when 11 Confederate manufactured 12-pounder bronze Napoleon guns began firing upon the Union fortifications. Confederate manufactured? How often is that?
Right.
Confederate artillery involved were 2 batteries of Myrick's Artillery Battalion, manned by men of Captain Alcide Buenchaud's Battery of Louisiana,
all right,
Captain James J. Cohen's Battery of Warren County, Mississippi, and a battery from Store's Artillery Battalion, French's Division, Captain R.F. Cobb's Battery of Alabama as well.
Oh, right.
Kolb? Probably Kolb, since it was Kolb's farm.
Yeah, Kolb. French, he had ordered a 1-gun detachment to force a surrender of the blockhouse a few miles away on Allatoona Creek. 6 guns of the 12th Wisconsin Battery answered the Confederate artillery. After a 2-hour artillery bombardment, French sent a demand for surrender. which Corse said, "No, I will not surrender."
Which he, of course, refused.
Right. French then launched his units in an attack. Sears's brigade from the north against the rear of the fortifications, and Cockrell's Missouri brigade, supported by Young from the west. Corse's men, they survived the sustained 2-hour attack against the main fortification, the Star Fort, on the western side of the railroad cut. But they were pinned down, requiring Turtelette to send reinforcements from the eastern fort. Okay, Turtelette, you got to do your job.
Well, under heavy pressure, it seemed inevitable that the Federals would be forced to surrender, but by noon, French received a report from his cavalry that a strong Union force was approaching from Ackworth, so he withdrew at 2 p.m.
No shit.
More reinforcements from Rome reached Allatoona the next morning, though.
Oh,
He had
wow,
time.
you dumbass. Confederate General French sent this message across the lines to the Union General Corse. I have placed the forces under my command in such positions that you are surrounded. And to avoid a needless effusion of blood, I call on you to surrender your forces at once and unconditionally. 5 minutes will be allowed for you to decide. Should you accede to this, you will be treated in the most honorable manner as prisoners of war.
Well, General Corse answered immediately. He said, your communication. He said, your communication demanding surrender of my command, I acknowledge receipt of, and respectfully reply that we are prepared for the quote-unquote needless effusion of blood whenever it is agreeable to you.
Ooh.
He said, come on, motherfucker.
Dang. Allatoona was a relatively small but bloody battle with high percentages of casualties. 706 Union, including about 200 prisoners, 897 Confederate as well. Yeah. Nonetheless, in his autobiography, General and then President, United States...
Yeah, United States Grant.
Right. General and then President Ulysses S. Grant, he praised the stand made by Corse and his men. Corse was wounded during this very battle, and on the following day sent a message to Sherman, I'm short a cheekbone in one ear, but am able to whip all hell yet.
This is ready.
Look at this guy.
Got a cheekbone in an ear. Got fucking blasted.
Damn.
Well, French was unsuccessful in seizing the railroad cut, and Federal garrison, regretting in particular that he was unable to seize the 1 million rations stored there, or to burn them before he retreated.
Oh, shit.
General Sherman's message to Allatoona via signal flag to hold the fort inspired the latter popular religious hymn entitled Hold the Fort by Chicago evangelist Philip P. Bliss, which featured the chorus, Hold the Fort, for I am coming, which then became a common expression. Hold down the fort, boys.
I'm coming home. All right. There's a persistent myth that when General Sherman signaled the garrison to hold the fort and I'm coming, he was only bluffing and never really sent reinforcements at all to aid General Corse in the defense of Allatoona. Oh, really? This myth goes further, saying that General French relied upon false intelligence that Union reinforcements were marching toward Allatoona to cut his Confederate force off from General Hood's Army of Tennessee, thus mistakenly abandoned the attack on Allatoona. Wow.
Even the most cursory review of available historical documents reveals that General Sherman recalled in his memoirs that he ordered the 23rd Corps, commanded by Major General Jacob Cox, to the west toward Allatoona, with instruction to burn houses and brush piles along the way to make a show of reinforcements approaching. Sherman added, the rest of the army was directed towards Allatoona. Cox's force was assigned the task of cutting off General French from the Confederate Army of Tennessee, and although it arrived too late to assist in the defense of Allatoona or cut General French off from the main Confederate Army, Sherman recalled, still, several ambulances and stragglers were picked up by this command on that road, meaning Major General Cox's.
So he did something right. That's fine.
Well,
however, a closer look at the orders actually issued that day reveals that by 2 p.m., the time French was beginning his withdrawal, and therefore too late to even influence events, Sherman had only ordered Cox and the 23rd Corps to take position to the north and to the east of Kennesaw Mountain. They had spent the day marching north from Atlanta. Sherman even supplied a staff officer to guide him into position to attack the right flank of the 14th Corps. And then by 3 p.m., a signal officer reported that Cox had only just then passed through Marietta.
Oh, jeez.
Like, really?
Only on October 6th, which is the day after this battle, did Sherman order Cox to have a brigade ready to go there tomorrow early.
Okay.
The brigade did not leave Big Shanty until dawn on the 7th and did not arrive at Allatoona until approximately 11 a.m., 2 days after the battle.
I see that they put a hyphen between to and Morrow back then, huh?
Indeed, Sherman's memory was faulty. He did order Cox to reconnoiter the Dallas-Ackworth Road on the 7th, but the purpose of lighting the fires along the way was so that Sherman, atop Kennesaw Mountain, could track his progress.
Right, obviously. The closest Sherman came to ordering reinforcements to the pass on the 5th were several untimed dispatches sent to his cavalry. Sherman ordered Brigadier General Kenneth Gerard's cavalry division to Allatoona, but clearly after the battle had ended. The order was later modified, reducing the force to a single squadron after it became clear that the garrison had held. It's like only sent about 4 or 5 guys there.
You know what? Oh, well. Clearly, French thought he did, so.
So that was like a big, like most of these frickin' battles, a snafu by frickin' one of the generals.
Could have had it, but got scared. That's going to lead us to the Battle of Tom's Brook, October 9th, 1864 in Shenandoah County, during Philip Sheridan's Shenandoah Valley Campaign. After his victory at Fisher's Hill, Philip Sheridan pursued Jubal Early's Confederate army up the Shenandoah Valley to near Staunton. October 6th, Sheridan began withdrawing as his cavalry burned everything that could be deemed of military significance, including barns and mills. Reinforced by Major General Joseph B. Kershaw's division, Early followed him. Major General Thomas L. Rosser arrived from Petersburg to take command of Major General Fitzhugh Lee's Confederate cavalry and harass the retreating Federals as well.
Oh, shit. 9th of October, Brigadier General Alfred Torbert's Union troopers turned in on their pursuers.
You want to pursue us, huh?
Routing the divisions of Rosser, whose cavalrymen were repulsed by Custer in a flanking maneuver along the base of Spiker's Hill off of the back road. And Lunsford L. Lomax, who was positioned in the vicinity of the Valley Pike at Tom's Brook. With this victory, the old Blue Coats cavalry attained overwhelming superiority in the valley. The hasty retreat of the old Rebs cavalry was referred to as Woodstock races due to how fast the rebels ran away.
Confederate Major General Tom Rosser said this about General Custer on the eve of the battle. That's General Custer the Yanks are so proud of, and I intend to give him the best whipping today that he ever got. Jubal Early later commented sourly about Rosser's Laurel Brigade. He said the laurel is a running vine.
Oh shit.
Geez. The American Battlefield Trust and its partners have acquired and preserved 516 acres of the Tom's Brook battlefield.
Of what battlefield? What battle?
Oh, jeez.
Wow. Take a look at the capture of Sedalia. This was when the Confederate force captured the Union garrison of Sedalia in Missouri on the 15th October 1864.
Yeah, Price's Missouri expedition over here is doing some damage to the Union.
Price, yeah, he had his good runs here and there, right? The outset of the American
Why he's stuck over here in fucking Missouri instead of anywhere else, who knows?
Right. The outset of the American Civil... Maybe he knows the terrain.
Maybe.
Outset of the American Civil War, 1861, state of Missouri was a slave state, which we all know. Governor Claiborne Fox Jackson supported secession. Formed the pro-secession Missouri State Guard, which we all know, which is a militia unit. Brigadier General Nathaniel Lyon of the Union Army evicted Jackson and the pro-secession portion of the state legislature from the state capital of Jefferson City. There's a little recap of what's going on in Missouri, guys.
Well, the Missouri State Guard won several battles, but Union forces felt like they won the war. They had forced the secessionists restricted to the southwestern portion of the state by the end of the year. Jackson and the secessionists formed the Confederate government of Missouri, which would function as a government in exile for much of his existence, moving from place to place before settling in Marshall, Texas.
Oh, shit.
Missouri now had two competing governments.
Wow.
The Union gained control of Missouri in March of 1862 after the Battle of Pea Ridge, and the state was then plagued by guerrilla warfare, which is Quantrill and his raiders wrecking hell.
Yeah.
That was throughout 1862 and 63.
So it's just a rough freaking place to
Missouri is like Missouri is the Wild West of the Civil War right now.
Right. And Texas is like the way far west.
Right. Texas is Mexico.
Yeah, it wasn't not too long before that.
Right.
And California and New Mexico and Arizona and Nevada. The beginning of September of 1864, events east of the Mississippi, especially the Confederate defeat in the Atlanta campaign, gave old President Lincoln, who supported continuing the war, an edge in the 1864 United States presidential election over failed Union Major General George McClellan, who promoted a war-ending strategy that would preserve slavery. Oh, is racist? You little liberals.
And,
check that shit out.
The South started supporting McClellan.
Yeah, he became like a Dixiecrat. Meanwhile, in the Trans-Mississippi Theater, the Confederates had defeated Union attackers in the Red River Campaign in Louisiana in March through May.
They sure did.
That was in 1864.
Sure was. As events east of the Mississippi.
That's all they got left at Louisiana, isn't it? The Rebs? Pretty much
They have like nothing.
the blue coats have all the shoreline.
Everything. Florida, Alabama, Louisiana.
Ridiculous.
As events east of the Mississippi turned against the Confederates, General Edmund Kirby Smith, commander of the Trans-Mississippi Department, was ordered to transfer the infantry under his command to the fight-in the eastern and western theaters. He's like, damn.
Right.
However, this proved to be impossible, as the Union Navy controlled the Mississippi River, preventing a large-scale crossing.
Yeah, yeah, happened.
Despite having limited resources for an offensive, Smith decided that an attack designed to divert Union troops from the principal theaters of combat would have the same effect as the proposed transfer of troops. He's like, right, we don't have to go there, make them come to us. But at this point, who gives a fuck about Missouri?
See, if they really wanted to, all they had to do is, instead of splitting the country up how they had it, the South should have moved west of the Mississippi and set up defensive works there, and just they have that dividing their countries, and that'd be so hard to pass through.
Can't pass through and you can't set up stuff on the Mississippi if it's controlled.
It's true. Major General Sterling Price and the old Reb governor of Missouri, Thomas Calt Reynolds, suggested that an invasion of Missouri would be an effective offensive. Smith approved this plan and appointed Price to command the offensive. Well, General Price was a former governor of Missouri, had served in the Mexican-American War, and also commanded the Missouri State Guard in 1861 before entering Confederate service. Price, he expected that the campaign would create a popular uprising against the Bluecoats' control of Missouri, divert Union troops away from the principal theaters of combat. Many of the Union troops previously defending Missouri had been transferred out of the state anyway, leaving the Missouri State Militia as the state's primary defensive force. Really? And he was also to aid McClellan's chance of defeating Lincoln.
September 19th, Price's column, about 12 to 13,000 men, entered the state.
Damn.
Price soon learned that a Union force held Fort Davidson near Pilot Knob. Not wanting to leave a large Union force in the rear of his army, Price decided to attack the post.
He had to, right?
The attack, known as the Battle of Fort Davidson, occurred on September 27th, and the Confederates were repulsed with heavy losses.
He should have just kept on going because they weren't leaving that fort. I mean, they might have sent like a couple divisions out or something.
Well, they left the fort.
Well, the fort's defenders retreated that night.
Remember?
Oh, right.
They like set off, they blew up their ammunition and fucking everything, and the Confederates were like, oh, well.
Right.
What was that?
Boo. Well, yeah. While the fort's defenders retreated that very night, well, Price decided to abandon plans to capture St. Louis, as the troops had suffered at least 800 casualties, and their morale had been dented. After giving up the proposed St. Louis thrust, Price's army headed for Jefferson City. Although the old Rebs were slowed by bringing along a large supply train. Yeah, you got to have that supply train. That's what slows you down, man. Fucking supply trains. 7th of October, the old Rebs approached Jefferson City, which was held by about 7,000 men, mostly inexperienced militia. Oh, they think it's a freaking rundown, right?
Well, once again, faulty Confederate intelligence placed Union strength at 15,000.
Oh, my.
And Price, fearing another defeat like Fort Davidson, decided not to attack the city and began moving his army towards Boonville the next day. Boonville was in the pro-Confederate region of Little Dixie in central Missouri, and according to different sources, Price was able to recruit around 12 to 2,500 men from there. Price, needing weapons and supplies, then authorized 2 raids away from his main body of troops. One from Brigadier General John B. Clark Jr. was sent to Glasgow. We'll have that. And Missouri State Guard Brigadier General Jeff Thompson's brigade of Brigadier General Joseph O. Shelby's division to Sedalia, which we're on now.
Well, Price wanted Sedalia because there was a rumor that the Union Army had thousands of mules and cattle in the town, which would be helpful in feeding and remounting the old Confederate force. Makes sense. Thompson's command consisted of Shelby's Iron Brigade, made up of his Slayback's Missouri Cavalry Battalion, Elliott's Missouri Cavalry Regiment, 5th Missouri Cavalry Regiment, and he also had Collins's Missouri Battery. The force totaled around 12 to 1,500 men.
Well, while Thompson's command had a nominal strength of about 2,000 men, many of the unit's soldiers were absent visiting their homes in the Boonslick area. Slayback's battalion had been performing scouting duties and rejoined Thompson's command at Longwood. The unit reported that Union cavalry were operating in the area but had moved towards the west.
Continuing their movement the very next day, the old Rebs captured 2 Union stragglers near Georgetown. They claimed to be former Confederate Confederates forced into Union service. They're like, yeah, I don't think so. You're going to be paroled and hopefully they don't see you again. The prisoners identified the Union cavalry cited by Slayback as Brigadier General John B. Sanborn's command. They also informed Thompson that the Union forces were concentrating at Jefferson City and Kansas City, in addition to a Union infantry force at California that was preparing to head to Georgetown. Was this true or was it not? Can you trust this guy?
Well, Thompson, who had established a chain of relay couriers along his path, sent a message to Price to inform him of this development. Thompson initially decided to call off the attack on Sedalia before changing his mind in the belief that the Union infantry was not headed in this direction and that Sanborn was too far away to interfere anyways.
Yeah, I think, right. Maybe it was. We'll find out. Sedalia was located in the middle of an expansive prairie. Few trees or other features to provide cover to an attacking force. 2 redoubts and some rifle pits existed as defensive positions. The town was held by almost 800 Home Guard and enrolled Missouri militia, including men of the 1st Missouri State Militia Cavalry Regiment. Additionally, 33 men of the 7th Missouri State Militia Cavalry Regiment, under the command of Captain Oscar B. Queen. They were in town to meet a wagon train of ammo coming from Georgetown on that very day. Colonel John D. Crawford of the 40th Enrolled Missouri Militia commanded the garrison there as well.
Well, Thompson believed that the surprise gave him the greatest chance of success and attacked before daylight October 15th. Benjamin Elliott's regiment, which was largely dressed in captured Union uniforms, led the advance and reached within pistol shot of the Union pickets before being discovered.
Oh.
The Union pickets were scattered and driven back into town. Crawford and many of the enrolled Missouri militia soldiers followed them in their flight. They said, fuck this.
Get the hell out of here. Queen claimed that Crawford had ordered his men to retreat as soon as Thompson's men were sighted. However, the men of the 7th Missouri State Militia Cavalry, they held, and the Union soldiers were able to form a point of resistance. Elliott's regiment had gotten ahead of the rest of the rebel force and fell back after meeting the unexpected resistance. Within 10 minutes, the rest of Thompson's brigade, including the artillery, arrived. And here we go, boys.
Well, that artillery fire scattered the remaining enrolled Missouri militia soldiers, and the men of the 7th Missouri State Militia Cavalry surrendered the town. Thompson reported that Confederates were unaware that the defenders had fled, as they had left their flags flying above the fortifications. So you don't do that. Confederate soldiers chased the militiamen as they fled across the prairie, inflicting an unknown number of casualties.
Oh, dude, it's like...
Everybody just gunning them down as they're running away.
That's insane. Some degree of plundering. It occurred after the fighting ended. The historian Paul B. Jenkins.
Here we go.
He wrote
Confederates plundering.
Right. He wrote in 1906. He stated that Thompson's men looted Sedalia, with government property being particular targets for destruction. While the historian Paul Kirkman, he said that Thompson attempted to limit the plundering to military-related supplies. The modern historian Kyle Sinisi, this guy, he stated that Thompson attempted to keep the capture of military property orderly, although things got out of control, despite the Confederate commander performing actions such as shooting a mule a soldier was riding and spanking some of his men with the flat of his sword.
What the hell are you guys doing?
If he would have fucked up and turned his sword.
Well, it sucks to be him. Or them.
Cut an ass cheek off.
I did a bad thing.
Pick that up, throw it on the grill.
They'll feed us. What is it, like liver? Would it be like liver?
Like a rump roast.
All right. Well, Sinisi states that the looting was primarily restricted to businesses, not private homes. Some eyewitnesses reported seeing Confederates riding barefoot and carrying their boots filled with stolen whiskey. Ew. You got to do what you got to do, though. Sedalia's post office was also plundered. Thompson claimed that no outrage or murder was committed, and reported capturing a number of weapons and wagons of goods suitable for soldiers.
Okay.
Most of the Confederate units that had participated in the fighting became disorganized, and Slayback's battalion, which was in the best state of organization, performed guard duty after the battle. Thompson captured almost 2,000 mules and cattle. Good for him. Look at him. Live to fight another day, boys.
The Union suffered 1 man murdered, 23 wounded. Several hundred Union soldiers were captured. Thompson did not have the ability to keep them as prisoners or even issue them standard written paroles. Treatment of prisoners varied between how Thompson classified them. A few hundred were classified as home guard and released, while 75 enrolled Missouri militia and 47 Missouri State militia were given non-standard verbal paroles, including threats if they reneged on the terms. Several unit officers protested that the practice was illegal, but they were ignored.
Well, Queen
At least they let them go.
Right. Well, they couldn't keep them. Well, Queen considered the pros to be worthless and returned to Jefferson City for further orders. Fuck them.
Right.
Knowing that they could be trapped by Union forces if they tarried, the Confederates left Sedalia within hours. Thompson moved north to rejoin Price's main body and rejoined it at the Salt Fork River near Waverly October 18th. Clark's raid on Glasgow was also successful. We'll get there. By 19th of October, the Confederates had reached Lexington, where they fought at the Second Battle of Lexington, which we'll end this episode with.
2 days later, Union Major General James G. Blunt.
You're beautiful.
He attempted to stop Price at the crossing of the Little Blue River, but he was defeated in an ensuing battle. After fighting several more actions, Price encountered nearly 20,000 Union soldiers near Kansas City on the 23rd of October. The Battle of Westport followed, and Price's 9,000 men were soundly defeated.
Yeah.
Price then fell back into Kansas, but was defeated again in the Battle of Mine Creek on the 25th of October. About 600 Confederate soldiers were captured at Mine Creek. Why are we even reading this? We're going to be doing these battles anyway.
Hey, maybe someone's not going to listen to those.
Right.
Later that day, Price ordered the destruction of almost all of the cumbersome wagon train. Final major action of this campaign occurred October 28th near Newtonia, Missouri. In the Second Battle of Newtonia, Price was defeated by Blunt. By this point, the Confederate army was disintegrating. Union troops continued pursuing Price until the Confederates reached the Arkansas River November 8th. The Confederates did not stop retreating until they reached Texas towards the end of November 1864.
Damn.
The campaign failed to affect the election, and while part of the 16th Corps was diverted to Missouri, the transfer was only temporary and did not have a major impact on campaigns in other theaters.
Oh, so it was worthless.
Lost all these men for nothing.
Nothing. Stupidity.
Sad. Well, let's get to the other prong of this little strategy they got going on.
Battle of Glasgow, 15th October, 1864, near Glasgow, Missouri. Confederate Brigadier General John B. Clark Jr., he tried to capture a Union weapons cache. Is it cache or cache?
Both.
Right.
Both.
Right, both. He tried to capture a Union weapons cache in Glasgow. Clark, he had 1,700 men, or maybe 1,800, consisted of his own brigade, under the command of Colonel Colton Green. He had 500 men from Colonel Sidney D. Jackman's brigade, and Harris's Missouri Battery. Clark and Jackman, they selected for the operation because they were local residents.
Oh, look at them.
Yeah, they know the area. The column pushed north and then crossed the Missouri by ferry at Arrow Rock on the 14th. After hearing rumors that the garrison of Glasgow had a tin-clad boat, Clark asked Price for more artillery. In reality, the Union vessel present there, it was the steamer West Wind, was not even a tin-clad or even armed. Oh, wow.
Since the river at Glasgow was narrow enough for artillery to effectively fire across it, Price sent Brigadier General Joseph Shelby with 125 cavalrymen and part of Collins' Missouri battle to a point on the western bank of the Missouri opposite Glasgow. Shelby's force was joined by some of Anderson's guerrillas, but Anderson and his men did not participate in the fighting.
Yeah, can you really trust them?
Right. The Union garrison was initially a small force under the command of Captain John E. Mayo, but it had been reinforced on October 13th by part of the 43rd Missouri Infantry Regiment, which was under the command of Colonel Chester Harding. Any relation to Warren?
I bet. The Missouri infantrymen, they had been temporarily stranded when the steamboats they were on ran aground. Once the ships were freed, they went downriver to Glasgow, where they unloaded the Missourians and supplies as well. One of the ships, Benton, returned to Jefferson City, while the other, the West Wind, had stayed there, as its draft was expected to be too deep for the falling water levels on the river. He's like, this is as far as we can go.
Hardin, who was now in command of the garrison at Glasgow, had between 550 to 800 men available.
Oh, shit.
Which included armed civilians. Union force had no artillery available.
Oh, wow.
Glasgow's location on a hilltop provided an advantage to the defenders. The interior Union line was anchored by two unfinished fortifications, which held about 40 men each. The defenses between the fortifications were makeshift, although they had been extended to the east to a schoolhouse.
Okay, so there's nothing there. These guys are sitting ducks. Most of Harding's men were positioned outside the fortified line, where the roads entered town. This interior line ran from near the river to the east edge of town, before curving to the north. Elephants.
Those damn war elephants.
Right. Elements of the 43rd Missouri Infantry, they held east and west positions south of town on the external line, near where the roads crossed Griggs Creek.
Oh, Griggs Creek.
In between those two positions, a line of local militiamen was posted. The two road crossings were over a mile apart.
Line south of town ran roughly east to west. North of the town, a group of cavalry, largely members of the Missouri State Militia, held a position north of Bear Creek, crossed by a single road. A militia force was sent east to repair telegraphic connections with Jefferson City, but returned to Glasgow late October 14th after running into a Confederate force.
They're like, oh, like, nope. Like that little meme of the baby running around and instantly turning around. Oh, shit.
Around 5 a.m. Around 5 a.m. 0500 on October 15th, Collins' battery opened fire, aiming primarily for Westwind, visible campfires, and exposed streets in the town.
Oh, shit.
Like, whatever you can see hit.
Damn. Like, damn, I didn't even let us get a coffee. Son of a bitch. Not even our morning shit. I do it now. This fire was largely ineffective, as was fire from the cavalry accompanying the cannons. Although a prominent pro-Confederate civilian, clergyman William Goff Caples, he was killed by an artillery shot. Oh, damn it. Union sharpshooters, they drove some rebels away from the riverbank. Clark's force delayed an hour while trying to cross the Missouri River. They arrived later than Shelby expected. Oh, no. Plans go awry. Clark was 3 miles away when Collins opened fire. About 7 a.m., Clark's men finally arrived on the field.
Meanwhile, Jackson's men were aligned to the left closer to the river, with most of the rest of the Confederate force to Jackman's right. 3rd Missouri Cavalry Regiment held the extreme Confederate right, and the 10th Missouri Cavalry Regiment was sent around the Union rear to attack Glasgow from the north.
Oh, shit.
Greene had one of Harris's cannon brought to the front. Hardin responded by reinforcing the Greggs Creek line with several companies of the 43rd Missouri.
Oh, shit. All right. We're going to have a little battle here, huh? I like it. Clark
yes, that is the name of our show.
Right. Clark sent a surrender offer to Harding, using civilians to deliver the message. The Union commander was confused by the non-standard use of civilian messengers and rejected the offer. He's like, this is weird. I don't like that.
Your civilians are weird.
Right. Clark's main body south of town forced its way across Greggs Creek, beginning around 8 a.m., although the Union defenders put up a hardy fight. In his after-battle report, Harding stated that his men had been outflanked on both ends of the line. They're like, oh,
that's
shit.
That's not good. Well, the Union troops fell back into the prepared position in Glasgow proper.
Oh, nice.
They came under fire from the Confederate artillery on the opposite side of the river, which was more effective this time.
Oh, shit.
Westwind had been damaged by artillery fire.
Oh, no.
Shelby ordered men across the river in a small boat to the Westwind, hoping to take it to use it as a ferry across the river.
Oh.
Confederates reached it, but found the steamboat's engine had been rendered non-functional, and they had to return to Shelby.
Like, oh, shit.
Nothing with this. We fucked it up.
Damn it. Meanwhile, the 10th Missouri Cavalry's drive from the north had been stymied by the Missouri State Militia Force north of town. The old rebel troops closed in on the Union line in Glasgow. Clark described the distance between the sides as short. It was a short distance. Harding estimated. Harding was like, well, it was about 30 yards.
Pretty short.
Maybe 50. And also, after that, house-to-house fighting ensued. Oh, shit. Harding conducted a council of war, which resulted in a decision to surrender. Should have done that before, bud.
Before surrendering, Union troops burned about 50,000 rations in Glasgow City Hall to prevent them from falling into Confederate hands.
That's bullshit. So you both going to go hungry?
The fire spread to other buildings and caused $130,000 in damage.
That's like $1 million today.
More.
Oh, my.
Additional supplies were not burned because they were kept in positions near the river that were inaccessible.
Oh.
The surrender took place around 13:30, which is 1:30 p.m. for all you non-militarians. And its terms allowed captured Union officers to keep their horses and sidearms. Hardin and his men were paroled and escorted to a Union position on the Lamine River. Good for them, though. Huh? What about all your other guys? Fuck you. Fuck them.
Right. The escort was provided to protect them from guerrillas. Yeah. All right. A Confederate officer conducted a ceremony where the Union soldiers were sworn not to serve against the Confederates again. I like that's going to happen. Although this was not part of the agreed surrender terms.
Just get it over.
The Glasgow victory boosted the morale of Price's army. They're like, finally, which had been dented after Pilot Knob. It resulted in the capture of 1,200 weapons, 1,000 Union uniform overcoats. Oh, I bet that's nice to have. And 150 horses. That's even better.
Right. Quantrill. Well, here comes Quantrill.
Oh, shit. He's like, oh, anything left for us?
Him and his men robbed a bank.
Like fucking hyenas coming in.
Right, the fucking seagulls getting the fucking vultures.
Right.
His men robbed a bank on October 16th, and Anderson's men fatally beat a civilian on the night of October 21st, 22nd in an attempt to get money, and then raped a former slave that he had freed.
Oh, shit.
The Union garrison in Glasgow had previously prevented them guerrillas from raiding the place, but With Hardin and his men gone, the town had become a guerrilla target once again.
Oh, dude, it's just
Some
terrible.
Confederate sources claimed as many as 1,000 Union soldiers were captured at Glasgow, and Union reports provide a figure at about 550. Well, let's hear about some fucking historians. What do you guys got to say?
Well, historian Mark Loss, he rejects the numbers reported by the rebels and suggests that the Union figure is too low due to an not accurately counting militia strength. He suggested that the more accurate figure would be about 650. Reports of Union wounded gave a maximum number of 32 wounded, 8 to 11 murdered. Although Loss, he believed that the figure for wounded is probably lower, likely due to omitting militia losses, and states that about 4 dozen would be a better estimate.
Okay, guy. Clark's official report did not include casualty numbers, and several Confederate units did not report losses.
Right.
Although it is known that one regiment had 7 men killed and 46 wounded.
Oh, shit.
Preservationist Francis E. Kennedy places the number of paroled Union soldiers as over 600, not counting battle losses.
Right. That's more like it.
In town, 15 homes and a church were damaged.
Oh.
Confederate soldiers burned West Wind on October 16th or 17th, and in 1921, the remains of West Wind were deemed a hazard to navigation and were removed by a snag boat. They're like, let's get this fucking thing out of here. It's been sitting here for 80 years.
Let's snag that boat. Right. An engine removed from the riverbed at Glasgow during a World War II scrap drive. we need bullets.
We need everything.
Right. Was rumored to have come from the vessel.
Cool.
Clark rejoined the Confederate Army on the 16th of October. And
That is pretty cool. What did they do with the engine? Melted it down and
made the bullets.
how many people
And
died
made
from
guns.
that? Right.
Right. Clark rejoined the Confederate Army on the 16th of October, and the combined force continued moving west towards Kansas City, where men of the Kansas State Militia and the Union Army of the Border were forming. The Confederates continued to move west, fighting several small battles. 23rd October,
Yeah, we know.
they were defeated
Yeah,
at
we
Battle of Westport by Samuel Curtis.
Well, on this very battlefield, interpretive signage has been erected within Glasgow to commemorate the battle. Historical reenactments of the battle have been held, and a flag flown during the battle is displayed in the Lewis Library.
Fantastic.
That's going to lead us to the last battle of the day. Also, another Price's expedition, raid, whatever you want to call it. Second Battle of Lexington. Union troops commanded by Major General Samuel Curtis and James Blunt were withdrawn from their role in the fights against the Cheyenne. The Kansas State Militia was also mobilized. October 15th, Blunt moved the 3 Brigade unit under his command to Hickman Mills, Missouri. 3rd Brigade was composed of militia. At this time, Price was at Marshall, east of Blunt's column. The next day, Curtis moved the Kansas militiamen to Kansas City, but was prohibited by the governor of Kansas from taking them east of the Big Blue River. Said, no, that's about as far as you're going.
The Big Blue River. 17th of October, Blunt detached his militia unit to Kansas City and then sent his other 2 brigades to Holden. 18th of October, Blunt's advance guard, commanded by Colonel Thomas Moonlight, occupied the town of Lexington, hoping to cooperate with a force commanded by Brigadier General John Sanborn. He wanted to catch and trap Price. However, Sanborn's force was too far south of Lexington to move in concert with Blunt. Additionally, he learned that Price was only 20 miles away at Waverly. He also received word from Curtis that the political authorities in Kansas would not even allow him to send militiamen to Curtis, even if he freaking wanted to. Blunt made the decision to reinforce his outer positions and resist an inevitable rebel advance.
Price's army was split into 3 columns. Brigadier General Joseph Shelby commanded the advance guard. The overall force still numbered about 13,000 men. We don't care about the other 2 columns, apparently. Blunt's force consisted of about 2,000 men and 2 batteries of 4 12-pounder mountain howitzers. Contact between the 2 forces occurred 3 miles south of the town. Shelby's cavalrymen made contact with Blunt's force scouts around 14 hundo and drove them back towards the main Union position. Blunt's main force made a stand against Shelby, leading Price to commit the forces of Major General James Fagan and Brigadier General John Marmaduke to the fray.
Fantastic. For a time, Blunt's howitzers held the line.
I held the line.
Price, he was also forced to display his heaviest artillery as well, and Blunt withdrew his men from near Lexington. In his after-action report, Blunt provided a significant amount his force was outnumbered by, as well as the fact that his mountain howitzers were unable to effectively respond to Price's artillery as reasons for the decision to
We
withdraw.
can't fucking do nothing.
Right. The 11th Kansas Cavalry Regiment served as a rear guard for Blunt until nightfall to get the hell out of Dodge.
4 of the mountain howitzers supported the Kansans during the rearguard action. While the action was a Confederate victory, Blunt had gained definitive evidence about Price's strengths and exact movements, which the Union High Command had been lacking since the time the Price was still in Arkansas.
Oh, shit.
All right.
Wow. Union casualties, about 40. Price gave no official total, but he stated his losses were very light. The Confederates spent the night near Fire Prairie Creek, while Blunt retreated to the Little Blue River. 2011 study by the American Battlefield Protection Program found that while the site of the battle is threatened by the development Missouri Route 13 and is otherwise fragmented by development, opportunities for preservation remain at that very site, though. Like, there's still...
We can do something.
Getting some. Maybe put a plaque and a little walkway through a little patch of trees or something. The same report noted that while none of the battlefield was on the National Register of Historic Places, 3,543.31 acres of the site are likely eligible for listing.
So why not do it?
Right. The Battle of Lexington State Historical Site is concerned with the preservation of the 1861 First Battle of Lexington.
But this one's a little more significant.
Right. We'll get to that one after.
Right, maybe.
Right.
Maybe. Oh, there you go.
There's that.
We got a couple Shenandoah and a Franklin-Nashville campaign that just started, rounding out by Price's Missouri expedition. And as you read, or as you heard us say, pretty much after this, the next thing we'll see from Price, he's getting demolished in about 4 battles in a row. So
yeah, I said he was doing well, and this is the part where he's not.
it's all falling
so
apart
well.
for the Confederates right now.
Right.
Price is about to get demolished. Shenandoah Valley is about to get really taken over.
And Lee's going to be...
Petersburg is just fucking sitting there.
Right, Lee's in a stranglehold there.
And then Atlanta just got overtaken, and Sherman's marching to the sea. So everything's fucking falling apart for these guys.
I don't even know how it lasts another year.
Next
Insanity.
week, major battle, Cedar Creek, Shenandoah Valley, where Sheridan's finally going to remove Early from threatening Washington, D.C. or the Valley ever again.
Uh-oh.
Which we all know the Valley is an important supply.
This is a pretty good battle here, huh? By itself?
Yeah.
Look at this
All
shit.
by itself.
All by itself.
And then we'll have that next week. So stay tuned for that. Reminder, check out YouTube. All our links will be in the description. Give us a subscription. Answer that Spotify question. Share us with your friends. Give us a follow and all that good stuff. We'll be back next week for Battle of Cedar Creek, or you can call it the Battle of Belle Grove, whatever you want to do. We'll be back for that. This was the Battles of the American Civil War. We are the Mother Michiganders.
Bing dang.